Pretty cool. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. And let's go ahead and go right to Q&A. Excuse me.
And go ahead, Ralph.
Hey, Ralph. How are you?
Let's get you unmuted.
Mute. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you. I'm doing pretty good. I had my first session I've had skin cancers for a long time.
Okay.
And I went to the dermatologist last week and they did my first session of liquid cryogenics on my face.
Okay.
So I've got some owies.
Right.
And I was wondering if there was an oil. I'm currently using a face cream on it to help the healing a little bit.
Right.
I was wondering if there was a good oil I could put with the face cream.
Anytime there's a wound, helichrysum is your go-to thing. It will reduce the inflammation. It helps it heal and close faster, and it will reduce scarring.
Okay.
And so, and it actually even has a little bit of a antibacterial effect. You know, you don't have to worry about it so much because of everything being clean and you know, an incision site. But even if it was like you know, say you dropped the drawer from the dresser on your foot and bust your foot open or something like that, the helichrysum actually has a cleansing effect as well on the bacteria and stuff. And so helichrysum, you can put it a little bit in like a cream or massage oil.
So just the cream that I'm using on my face, put a couple drops in.
What kind of cream are you putting on your face?
It's
like it's a medication.
No, it's a face cream and it's got some SPF 30 in it.
Oh yeah, go ahead and mix it into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Like if it was medication, like, you know, something medicated, I would say probably not.
Okay.
But when you're just doing some cream like that, yeah, that works fine.
So like an ounce of the cream and a couple drops or 4 drops?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be too crazy.
Okay.
You know, if you really have a bad spot, like I get these like weird little irritations from having to wear masks all the time, like when I travel. And so I get this like one little spot. I can't even remember what side it's on. I think it's this side.
That's it right now.
Yeah, and it gets really super irritated from, it's right where the mask will rub. And I'll just take several drops of helichrysum and rub it on that spot, and it goes down by 50% almost immediately. And I don't even dilute it. I just straight helichrysum.
Okay. All right. I'll just put it on neat then.
Yeah. I mean, just take like a drop or two and then dab it on. You don't have to go crazy with it. But if you are putting cream on it, I'd go ahead and add it to the cream a little bit as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And the skin cancer stuff, all that's good. Like it's all cleaned up, or?
Well, it's all precancerous at this point.
Okay.
The doctor looked me over on my face and on my back where I've had some problems in the past.
Right.
They didn't identify that anything that they immediately, you know, wanted to throw up red flags about.
Okay.
So it's all precancerous at this point and benign things that they weren't worried about.
Have you had lots of exposures to the sun and things like that? Or?
Yeah. And I also have Scandinavian skin and skin tones. So the doctor said I was going to be susceptible.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
You know, they make clothing that has like SPF ratings for like shirts and hats and things like that. And so if it really becomes an issue, like look into that, because like a t-shirt only has like an SPF of like 8.
Yeah, no,
you know, it's not very much.
I am now officially off short sleeve shirts.
Yeah,
and that's
but even
because
like
I love them.
Even through the t-shirt, like it doesn't give you that much blockage from the sun. It's really kind of shocking.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I've got at least I've got one Columbia Sportswear SPF shirt now, and I'm going to have to find another one.
Yeah. Perfect.
Next question. I was doing the psychic protection class last night and using red time, and all of a sudden red time, my nose decided to discharge, and it was big time discharge.
Like a lot of mucus?
A lot of mucus.
Yeah.
What did I hit?
You know, so the thing is, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I always think that's a really super good thing. Like sometimes black pepper can do that, but thyme will do it. Part of it is it kind of liquefies things. It definitely increases the circulation in the mucous membranes and kind of loosens things up. And when I do a lot of work with some form of thyme, or I actually do it with black pepper sometimes.
Mhm.
Like rosemary kind of does it, but not quite like the thymes or the pepper or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I do like just a lot of really hardcore nose blowing, and
Mhm.
oh man, it just cleans things out there.
Yep.
It's always good to do in the springtime because, you know, a lot of times in the wintertime, you go into the wintertime and that's when it really gets kind of impacted because of the temperatures and things like that.
Mhm. Yep.
And so in Chinese medicine, a lot of times you would do like a spring tonic, like a spring cleanse,
Mhm.
and it's for flushing out the mucous membranes. And
Yeah.
so they would use Schizandra, which would help to moisten the mucous membranes. But I always found that the thyme and the pepper liquefied the things in the nose, and you could really just get some deep releases of just stuff that's been there, impacted through most of the wintertime.
Yeah, it was bad enough that I grabbed a paper towel to mop
Yeah.
it up with.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
In the early days, I would do the neti pot, but it would get a little disgusting on the back of my throat. So
Mhm.
I would just do the blow
Yeah.
method.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question on the breath. I've been doing breath work for a lot of years. Started out with TM when I was in college.
Oh yeah.
So I've been doing breath work for a long time. I notice when you talk about breathing with the oils, you talk about inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. So what's behind that? Because I've never.
Right. So you can look at it from a couple points of view. If you just look at it from the point of view of the breath, inhaling through the nose, out through the mouth is a way to regulate the stress response, relax the diaphragm, especially when you're doing abdominal breathing. And so, if you do it in through the nose, out through the nose, it's okay, but it's a little bit stronger if you go in through the nose, out through the mouth for that particular practice.
Okay.
Other things it's different, but for that, and then when we're utilizing the oils, you're inhaling, trying to get some of those particles that have the scent, that those are actually, molecules, and you're trying to get them down into the respiratory tract so that when they hit the tissue, blood passes through and it gets moved into the bloodstream. And so to blow out through the mouth, you're not blowing out some of those molecules. So it's a way to try to harness as many of those molecules as possible.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Any help with holding the tongue on the roof of the mouth while doing this?
Yeah, I don't really talk about that very much, but it starts to be like a lot of different pieces, but yeah, it definitely makes it stronger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get you later.
We live in Fairfield, which is where the TM University is.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fairfield, Iowa. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All
And
right.
then, thanks, Ralph. And then go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Oh, hey, Greg. Thanks, Sam.
Hey.
Hey, couple questions. So, first one, I got pulled by my dog and I just slammed hard on, the ground, and I think I'm still in shock.
Okay.
So,
how long ago did it happen? How long ago did it happen?
A couple hours ago.
Start breathing tarragon and as soon as we're done with this conversation, tarragon. And
Tarragon,
the couple reasons is, even if emotionally and mentally you're okay, your body still goes into a little bit of a shock mode when something like that happens. And on top of that, the tarragon has an antispasmodic component to it. So when you're falling and twisting and trying to brace yourself, it can cause a little bit of sprains in some of the areas. And then the other thing that happens that we don't take a lot into account is when we have some acute injury, which is like new, fresh within the last actually even 15 days, is any sort of ache or pain actually increases tension in the smooth muscle of the digestive tract. And so the thing that happens is your abdomen, your skeletal muscle of your abdomen tightens up a little bit, but the smooth muscle tightens up because it's trying to protect itself. And
Okay.
so this can even be like with sometimes emotional traumas, is the gut will tighten up to protect itself, because if you think about it from the point of view of the body naturally will protect weak spots, right? And so if you start to fall, or if somebody comes at you and they're raising their arm, like they're going to hit you, like your certain parts of your body tighten up because it's trying to protect the areas that are the weakest or that can cause the most damage. Your gut being a big source of that. And so whenever you have an issue, the tarragon starts to calm down the gut somewhat.
So take that internally?
You can take it internally, or you can just inhale it. Like, if you just inhale it, if it was significant enough, I would do both. Yeah.
Okay.
And then one of the things that I do, like with the fall, like if you feel that there was like bruising or anything like that, you could take a bath.
He dragged me for about 3 to 4 feet. Oh, yeah.
Wow. So I would do one of
strong.
a couple of things. Yeah. Like I do one of a couple of things, like either a helichrysum bath and then hit helichrysum on hot spots, or you could also do it with hyssop, take a hyssop bath. And again, you could put a little bit on the areas that felt like there was bruising. If the skin is broken, do helichrysum on the spot. Anywhere where you think there's going to be bruising, put the helichrysum as well. If the skin's not broken, you could use hyssop as well. But in about a day or two, when everything kind of calms down, do a few marjoram baths marjoram with some Epsom salts, if you have it, like about a pound of Epsom salt, and you'll take a lot of the sprain and strain out of it. You can also put marjoram on neat on the areas that feel stiff or strained, because like a lot of times you don't really realize it, but you might have like tried to straight arm something, or you're trying to protect a shoulder, or you try to catch yourself or something, and at first you really don't notice it, and then after the adrenaline wears off and everything comes down, you're like, wow, my neck hurts, my back hurts, my shoulder hurts, and it doesn't necessarily mean excruciating, but the quicker you reduce those spasms, the better it is for those joints.
Great. Thank you. And
so
I
just
think
do that right
fell
off
on how we're working on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I think that's where I landed. I know. So probably took like 10 steps back on that.
Yeah. Oh, Chris, bummer. Yeah. If is it feel inflamed at all?
I can't lift it that much.
Do helichrysum and steal some of that blue healer that Chris has for his hip.
Yeah. Okay,
steal a little of that and throw it on your shoulder. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Greg.
You're
one
so
more
welcome.
question, please.
Sure, by the way.
A client of mine's asking, for a monkey mind, what would be best? So I found my notes on gamma and blood purification pattern. Anything else you can recommend?
Well, it depends. Like, is he under a lot of stress, or what's going on?
I would say yes. Yeah, and stress from caregiving, and also just daily stress from work.
Okay, let me just look at it for a second, because that could be you could say like different contributing factors, or sometimes it's like different layers.
I think it's multifaceted.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, he's a little fatigued. I would say he's fatigued, and he's also running on some low-grade adrenaline, which happens when you get fatigued. Part of like how your body compensates. is
Mhm.
you don't have the energy level to get through the day, but you still need to get through the day. So the body goes, let's kick up adrenaline up to 10 or 20% output or something. And so it's not necessarily fight flight, but it's kind of fight flight. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like kind of low grade. And
Okay.
so I would do some like thyme or cinnamon. I would probably do thyme just because and he would need to do that internal if he's open to it. If he doesn't want to do internal, have him inhale cinnamon.
Inhale what? I'm sorry.
Cinnamon.
Oh,
Cinnamon or
cinnamon.
cassia.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it needs to strengthen the body somewhat. And then he's got a little bit of brain fatigue that's kind of happening. And so
Okay.
it's not tons, but it's starting to go down that road. And when you start to go down that road of brain fatigue, it is one of the things that will cause the mind have like repetitive thinking, have negative thinking, negative self-dialogue, like all that kind of stuff. Sometimes there's other reasons, but sometimes it can be just fatigue. And I think that's actually what's happening. The other thing is I'd really make sure that he's not got cords. Like he looks like he's corded up a little bit.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe a little roux, like,
Yeah.
on the lower centers, especially the spleen, the basic, the navel, I would just hit all the lower centers.
So just topical, you mean? Or
Either
Inhale.
inhaling or
Okay.
having put a little bit of roux like on the joint, or not the joints, those centers. Like if
Okay.
he's not going to do the inhalation, you got to be practical with when you're working with clients. If you think they're not going to do it, then have them apply it, because applying it only takes 2 minutes. Inhalation might take 15 minutes. And doing the math.
What do you think? Sorry. What do you think about a spray? Making roux into a spray?
Yeah.
Not really.
No,
Kinda.
I'm thinking it up for a second. Just to cut the cords.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah. So you can make it with just roux.
Okay.
Do you have any holy water?
Me?
Not,
I do. Yeah, I do have holy
okay,
water, but I'm
perfect.
not sure if they have one.
Take a little bit of holy water and put it in with the spray, and then spray in, spray out.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know what I
Got it.
mean? Like,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, in and then out. And it seems like a little wasteful, but you're actually disintegrating the cord by going through and doing that.
I might even do that on myself.
Yeah, it feels nice. Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
real nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sure
Wonderful.
Chris knows what you're talking about.
yeah, I'm sure you know, but I'm still going to demonstrate. So, like, I'm going to spray in and then spray out. Spray in, spray out. In,
Perfect. Yes.
solar plexus in, out. So,
And
Yeah.
any special recipe
that
for
felt
this, the roux spray?
what's
Yeah,
that?
I bet. Now I want some.
Yeah.
Spray over here. Any special recipe for that spray,
spray?
for the roux?
I would just do roux.
How many drops, like in the, I don't know, like two, what's
Like in
How
like
many?
say a 2-ounce bottle, maybe
Yeah,
like
in a
25 or 30 drops.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
With holy water. Okay.
Yeah, if you just have a little splash of holy water, if not, it makes it deeper.
Oh, I was going to give her a whole bottle of holy water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
if you have it. Yeah.
I emptied out
Yeah,
the fountain at the church. I'm kidding.
yeah.
I have it. Yeah.
I
Chris
have
for therapy.
I have a funny story. I was at this big cathedral, and you buy like a little container and then fill it up with holy water. And I think I bought a few, and the priest was standing there, and I go, "Is there a limit to how much holy water we can take?" And he looked at me. He goes, "Yeah, you can have a container or two." And I was like, "But what's the cutoff? Like 10 or 12 or like 15?" And he just looked at me and he goes, take whatever you need. And I was like, so 15's okay? Like 15 of these little bottles. And he was like, I don't know if you know what to do with that, but yeah.
Oh, funny. I sent
Yeah,
Chris
yeah.
with a picture to go to church.
Right, right,
He had 2 pictures.
right.
Thankfully, it wasn't stopped, but yeah, that's funny. But thank you so much, Greg.
You're so
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
really.
And go ahead, Catherine.
Hey, Catherine.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good,
Let's
thanks, really well. But I have a few eye issues I want to ask
Oh,
you.
let's hear.
And
Let's
I know
hear.
they're hard to deal with oils, but
Yeah, they
a
are, but
couple of
still,
reports,
let's
first
hear
of
what's
all.
up. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's hear
so
what's up.
I've been using Schizandra internally for like
Yes,
5 days. It's really helping.
good.
It's like the dry eye irritation is a whole lot better. And I
Right.
just got yesterday my Roman chamomile hydrosol.
Oh, good, good, good.
Which feels really good. I mean, I don't know that it does as much anyway, it's helping. But what I'm really wondering about now is how to work with kind of puffy under eye area.
Yeah. Um, puffy eyes. There's not I mean, there's probably some essential oils that will work good, but actually, I have this one oil, it's a carrier oil, and it's prickly pear. And like I usually just put it in like a little half-ounce bottle or something, and you just kind of tip it upside down and then just take it and then like rub it under the eyes, and it makes that area a little bit greasy, like so overnight. So because it's a fatty oil, not an essential oil. But even in like an hour, I'd say it takes a lot of the puffiness out, and by next morning it takes a lot of the puffiness out. The other thing is, again, it's not even so much about using essential oils for this part, but like if you just take like your fingers and your fingertips and go to your temples and just like kind of start high and work your way low, and not just like friction rubbing, but kind of get in and like move the skin around, like where you're just kind of like, you're not rubbing it, you're kind of moving the skin and the fascia around. And if you do it on the sides and the temples here, a lot of times it'll take the puffiness away from under the eyes.
Okay.
It doesn't last for forever, but if you do it kind of on a regular basis, every time you do it, you'll notice the puffiness goes away.
Okay.
That prickly pear oil, I mean, like a little half-ounce bottle is maybe like $5 or $6 or something. It's not expensive at all.
That's terrific. Yeah. And one
Yeah.
other
So
question.
we don't even have it on the site, but if you email me, or that, we'll just pop it in the mail, and no shipping or anything. We'll just get it to you.
Oh, thank you so much. It can even go
Yeah.
out with my kit for the immune.
Oh yeah,
system.
perfect.
That way.
Yeah.
Still email us though.
Yeah.
I will, definitely.
Email us and just remind us. Yeah.
So the next question is, how do I use the mold support?
So mold support you could do through inhalation. You could put it on the wrist. You could put it on the temples. I sometimes will put it on the chest. Like the mold support is more for the person themselves, and then the one that's marked fungal support, you could use it as an inhalation, but it's more for the environment. That one is actually a formula. It was one of the early. The fungal support was one of the early formulas that they actually did scientific studies on to see like how effective it would be in reducing like funguses and molds in the environment, and it was quite effective. And so that's a formula that's kind of floated around with some of the old school medical aromatherapists because of that study, and it works pretty tried and true. And so, that's not one that I formulated. I just, if it's been studied and the formula was well known, I was just like, yeah, let's just make it, throw it out there. So if you feel that it's in the environment, I would do both. But if you're just dealing with like mold because of the time of year or it depends on where you live. mold, especially with big trees and you're close to the ocean or something like that can happen. Areas that are wet during the wintertime, you can have mold issues. Places where there's like snow. It can also be in the house, but it also can just be in the environment.
Yep.
And so, yeah, like if you think it's both, I would do both. But if it's just like a temporary thing, then just do the mold support on your body and inhale it.
That sounds great. Do you have the fungal support, or do I need to find that somewhere else?
No, yeah, we make it.
I have
Oh,
it.
good.
Yeah.
I will email you about
Yeah.
both of those. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so fungal is external, mold is for you,
Yep,
for the
got it.
person.
Thank you.
And both are inexpensive. Like neither one of them are crazy expensive oils.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Sandra.
Hey, Sandra.
Hi, Greg. This is a kind of follow-up to Catherine's question.
Mhm.
Occasionally, I have to take a medication which really puffs up my eyes.
Okay.
And I was wondering if it's not related to lymph movement and maybe
It can
possibly
be.
using a
Yeah,
lymph
yeah,
oil.
sure. It can be, especially if you're starting to it's not necessarily a reaction to medication, but sometimes it's like the side effect of it. You can have issues with like fluid retention and things
Right.
in
I think
different
that's
parts
what
of the body, but it might not manifest as like swelling in the joints or in the legs.
Uh-huh.
It's just a puffiness in the body. So one of the things that you can do is still do the same thing with the prickly pear,
Mhm.
but if it's a little bit like stronger, is I would put several drops of parsley on your wrist, like
Okay.
just like neat, and then just like rub it together.
Mhm.
And we're even going to do that in the regeneration of the immune system.
Uh-huh.
And the idea is fluid retention, starting to flush some of that out and starting to stimulate the kidneys to like dump. Because sometimes the lymphatic system is going through and picking things up, but it doesn't hit that final stage of releasing things, usually via the kidneys.
Mhm.
And so if you can stimulate a little bit of movement there, a lot of times what I have people do is, as you start to work with the parsley, give it a day or two, and then maybe slowly start increasing water intake because you are flushing things out.
Uh-huh.
Your body's utilizing it more, and it's passing through you more, and you're kind of flushing things out of your body.
Mhm.
But start with the parsley first.
Okay.
Like don't
You know
don't just jump on the water until your body's really releasing to a little bit higher degree.
I have the parsley salt scrub. And the first time I used it, first of all, I felt amazing. I mean, I've never felt so clean in my life. It was
Oh, good.
interesting feeling. But then it really acted as a diuretic.
Yes.
The next couple of days, I spent a lot
It's
of
exactly
time
what it
going
is.
to the bathroom. And that's the only thing I could think of was the parsley. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
interesting.
It's good for the skin, and it's good for the kidneys, and it's really good. It literally is a diuretic. And so sandalwood, juniper, celery, parsley, lovage, all good diuretics. And in fact, in the regeneration of the immune system, we're giving like a decent size to where you could do at least a couple applications with the parsley salt scrub, just to go through and like flush things out of the body.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Channing.
Hey, Jenny.
Hi, Greg. Hi, Sam.
Yeah.
First of all, I was cracking up with the holy water conversation. I made a note to myself that I probably have a good reason to go to church now to pick up some holy water.
Yes.
Um,
You go up to the priest. So what's the holy water situation?
That's right. And how can I?
I've had many conversations kind of like that. So like, what's the deal with the holy water? Like,
Apparently, Chris is going to share her holy water with me.
Yeah.
So she probably already has a stash, which is great.
right.
Gives me a reason to come see Chris. I
That's
have
okay.
a, so Greg, chords. My
Uh-huh.
question, my multi-question is around chords. And
Mhm.
so the first very practical question is, I'm discovering detachment blend again. So what I did was,
Yeah.
I diffuse. So in my diffuser in my office today, I put in 10 drops
Mhm.
and it just made, and I don't know if it's like a placebo effect or whatever, but it made my day just go smoother because I'm stepping in and out of
Yeah.
meetings. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have, there's so much like context switching with the topics that I talk about with a certain
Mhm.
people. And then I switch to different teams. So that's sort of like my day. That's just how it goes. But I just have noticed that it allows me to switch between different groups a little bit
Mhm.
more easily. So that's one observation. I wanted to ask you about um, detachment, and then there's a several other oils that you've shared with us in the past. Rue, St. John's wort. We've also used poplar balsam to do some pretty heavy
Mhm.
cord cutting in the past.
Mhm.
So I wanted to just get a better
Yeah.
understanding of how
I,
to
I,
really
I
apply
I
these.
love the conversation. Like, it's funny that you guys are bringing this up because, we were talking about putting different topics on the website so that like when somebody comes on and they go, I have pain, and you could just have a drop down of like, all the different aspects of pain and be able to just go right to what's going to work, and just even supplements and things that you can get from the health food store, and just like kind of like what you would do in a book, but just on the site. And then the other thing was going to be energy hygiene. Those were going to be the
Yes.
first two, and I already have the respiratory stuff like about 3/4 of the way done. I just got sidetracked, and so chords was a big part of that. And so because it's something that we really don't think about very much, but we all deal with it regardless if we're aware of it or not. One of the conversations we used to have is like, just because you're not aware of it, you go, okay, I don't believe in gravity. Still happened, right? It still happened. And so the same idea with the chords, just because we're not aware of chords, it still doesn't mean it's there, even if we're not aware of it. And so
I'm
there's
definitely
a
not
couple.
questioning. I'm definitely not questioning the
No,
existence
no,
of
yeah,
chords for sure. I just want to let you know
yeah.
that, but I want to get a
I
little bit more
I
intuitive
think
about
there's a
chords.
couple different ways that you could do it. So I'm kind of go like start light and go deep.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, so right off the bat, cleaning chords, if you need to go through and clean chords, because we'll have negative chords with something, and if you look at chords, it just looks like an umbilical cord from one person to another, that is because of interaction, or sometimes it's not even because of interaction, but say you're managing a team, you have 25 people that you're interacting with, and you might not be talking to them, but they're definitely thinking of you and maybe grinding on you a little bit. There's going to be chords there. Now, some of them are going to be negative and some of them are going to be positive because of the connection of a group or a connection with friends or family or loved ones, something like that. So sometimes the good chords, which are much harder to disengage or cut, sometimes they're contaminated. Like it could be that, like, say you and your partner are doing fine, but one of you is having a very stressful day, and so when you guys interact, the stress kind of leaks into the other person as well. And not consciously, it's not on purpose, it's not intentional, it's just energy fields are intermixing, and it just kind of happens. And so cleaning the chords is always a good idea. From time to time, it's not something that needs to be done daily, but you have that ironbark eucalyptus that works really super well, or the etheric chord blend,
Mhm.
right? Ironbark works really super good and it's super cheap. right? It's just, it's a bread and butter oil for energy hygiene, right? Now, when you need to cut cords, when you need to disengage like negative cords, rue is pretty solid. I mean, St. John's wort probably works a little tiny bit better, but is like 4 times the price or 3 times the price, something like that. And so I usually go with the rue just because, you know, if it's something's inexpensive, you don't hold back with utilizing it, putting it on, taking a salt bath with it, where something's a little expensive, sometimes people won't use it as much and it doesn't make it as effective, right? So rue is inexpensive and man, it gets right to the point. You know, it's got a little bit of a medicinal smell, but like after a little bit, the way it makes you feel, you get over that it's like, you know, it smells like medicine a little bit. So you can inhale and go through the energy centers. You can just inhale by itself and that will cut the cords. But usually cords are going to be more your lower centers, you know, solar plexus, navel, sex, basic, Ming Men sometimes, you know, low back area. If you're doing a lot of healthcare kind of stuff, spleen can be an issue as well. If you're doing a lot of mental work, it can also be throat and ajna, you know, like when it's you having to interact with a lot of other mental bodies, you know, you're sitting grinding out opinions, ideas, you know, problem solving. It will be lower centers and up high. And so the rue can be inhaled just by itself, directing it to the centers, or you can take it and like have it in a roller ball and dab it on the spots, or you can make a spray and like how we were doing where you spray in, spray out, spray in, spray out, and just hit all the different centers. The other version of that would be
We have a rue
take a
roller bottle?
salt bath. What's that?
Do we have a rue roller ball?
If not, I'll make one first thing in the morning. Like,
Yay!
we'll throw that up on the site and
And a
that's-
rue spray,
that's it.
please.
Yeah, easy fix.
Yay.
And so yeah, we could do that with holy water and the whole bit. That's actually a good idea.
I love it.
So the other thing is, now let's take it a little bit deeper. And you're going through and you're cutting cords. The next level would be, how much are we absorbing negativity from the environment and from other people? And a lot of times what happens, you might be fine, but if somebody is really agitated and they're projecting negativity towards you, part of what happens is your body, without you being aware of it, just responds back. You know, it pushes back to like protect itself, right? And so the thing that actually kind of calms that down is you could use one of two things. You can use either hyssop or you can use chakra root cleanser. Both would diminish the back and forth between you and the other person, and it would minimize you taking on the negativity of the environment, be it stress, aggression, hostility, you know, whatever's directed at you. It just makes you not a sponge for that kind of stuff that's going on. And even if some of it penetrates your body, it helps to flush it out, right? Then if it's a situation where there tends to be a lot of cords and it's like patterns, like say in the workplace or in the family unit, or it's because of some action or activity, or, you know, say there was a trauma within the family, or, you know, I used to use this for more like when there was like abuse and we were dealing with the family unit, but it works for other things. It's not just about the abuse part, but basically just reducing the back and forth of the energy bodies in a situation that, bottom line, is like chaotic. It doesn't have to be about abuse or hostility. It can just be like frantic workplace, or people's like super stressed out, or everybody's a little bit competitive or adversarial, or, you know, something of that nature. Use the Gilead blend, you know, the one that's for low emotions, and inhale with your awareness just really on the sex chakra. And it's not about sex, it's about when we think something, when we feel something, when there's lower emotions, we're sending out like little signals to attract energies from the environment that then becomes like physicalized, like the energy of thought attracts things from the environment to bring it into form. And so how it's doing that is actually up high is through the pineal gland or the mental permanent seed, but it works its way all the way down to the sex chakra. And then the sex chakra is absorbing energy from the environment, or I should say attracting energy from the environment to bring it into form, right? And so by going through and doing this, it helps you to like disentangle from situations or particular, like say somebody gets really triggered at work really easy and then starts triggering the people around them. You know, for example, it's like, oh God, when Bob comes in, he gets a little worked up, he sucks everybody into it. It keeps you from getting sucked into it, you know, if that makes sense. And so the detachment just helps you to disentangle, regardless if it's negative or positive, but you're putting effort into something and you go, okay, I'm done. I need to walk to the next situation. It just helps you to kind of cut the cord, like in a, regardless if it's positive or negative, it just helps you to let go of one situation and then go to the next. You know, it just helps you to not, I mean, literally not be as attached to each situation, where when you're having an issue with that, you'll go, oh, like this is going to work for this. And then every meeting you have has a little bit of that first idea in all the meetings. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like detachment makes you like have the idea, you let it go, and then you go into the next meeting and they go, tell me the details, let's deal with it straight on. And you don't really drag that good idea through all of your meetings. Does that make sense?
Totally. And just me diffusing detachment today, my, you know, transitions are always like, so, well, what's the word? Transitions from one thing to another, any transition just requires like so much effort and it causes stress.
Yeah.
My transition is usually like, sometimes I only have like a 2-minute transition between meetings or none at all.
And you have to completely switch gears and then perform in a different situation.
Yeah. And be present. Right. So when I was diffusing detachment, it was amazing. The transitions were so fluid.
Yeah.
And that was just me diffusing it.
It's like the way that, another way to describe it is, say you have a tendency that you kind of struggle with, you know, like, you know, whatever it is, say, you know, like you're in a group of people and you get a little bit aloof, you know, you're a little bit standoffish, you know, so at first you go, oh, I need to overcome that issue and I need to be more interactive and everything. And so you try to make that tendency go away. When you're trying to do that, all you end up doing is probably agitating yourself or making that tendency even worse. The idea is to like sharpen it. Like you go, okay, there's times where I'm a little bit aloof, but it's really kind of on autopilot. Like it's really like something that I just kind of slip into and I don't really choose it. And there's times to be quiet and a little bit distant in situations. And then there's times to be engaging. And so when you sharpen it, you are able to utilize that component of your personality. And when you're not needing it, you just go, yeah, I'm gonna stick that in the toolbox. But when I need it, there's times where I can be quiet and not engage situations, be non-reactive, because I've harnessed it, I've made an ally of it rather than just letting it pop up whenever it's going to, you know, come. And so like that detachment blend actually helps you to sharpen those each pieces so that you can go, I'm going to be this way. Like, so you could be really stern in one meeting and then you go in the next meeting and you can be like soft and understanding and listening. And then you go to the next meeting and you're collaborative with the next group. And then you go in the next meeting, because each meeting needs different things, where if you start off and you're like going, okay, I'm going to be stern in this meeting, what happens is a lot of times you're stern through the whole day, right?
Mhm.
And so it's the ability to engage it, let go, engage it, let go, engage it, let go. And so you start refining these different pieces of your personality, and it allows you to operate on a lot of different levels, and not have them always, they're connected, but they're not like overlapping, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the word that comes to mind in hearing your description is dynamic.
Dynamic. Yeah, it's exactly it. Yeah. Dynamic activity, dynamic thought processes. You're able to perform and then let it go, and then perform and then let it go. And then, you just keep bouncing around. Now, if there has been significant entanglements in different situations, and, I liken this to like, say, I don't know, situations that are really kind of negative. And the best way that I could say this is they are entangling, and they have gravity. Like, like it's almost like a black hole. Like you start engaging this situation and you almost start to get consumed by it. Like somebody's having a lot of difficulty at work and they're having a hard time, snapping out of it, and start helping them, and they just kind of start sucking you into their thought process, and they're not getting out. It's a lot like if somebody was drowning and you tried to go out and save them, and then they kept grabbing onto them, pulling you down into the water. It's like that, but in the workplace or in the family, or you see it with acts of violence. You see it with, it could be all kinds of things, right? But when there's significant entanglement, where it just feels like it's starting to affect your emotions, your mind, your ability to produce results, those are usually the indicators I look for. Like you start to be a little bit unstable emotionally, your thought processes, you're having a hard time like thinking clearly and doing the things that you normally do, and might even start affecting your health or the ability to produce a result. That blend for the deity Padmasambhava, literally that's what that's for.
Okay.
Yeah, Padmasambhava strengthens the will aspect, but that kind of entanglement is not from the sex chakra, it's from the throat. Like it's usually like, I'm going to help this person. Like it's, it's a thought process. Like it's the idea of why you're going to engage this situation. And so it helps you to let go of that thought process and go, I'm not going to engage this situation, or this situation is actually harmful to me. Like if I do this, like it's harmful. And so it helps you break out of those kinds of things. It can happen in a family, it can happen in a relationship, it can happen in the workplace. I mean, I think you get the idea, but
Yeah, I wonder if I could just like, okay, so I hear there's these steps that you just walked us through, but I'm just wondering, can we use Padmasambhava every day as a roller or inhalation? And can we use it as a spray as well?
I hadn't thought about that.
We have the roller ball, and I'd love to see if, so here's an ask. Here's my request. Rue spray and roller, detachment spray and roller, and Padmasambhava spray.
Okay, I can do
Would
that.
that work, or is that not what you would want us to use?
Let me do an experiment with it tonight just to make sure. In theory, it should work, but like I don't want to like guess. So let me. The other ones I know will work, but the Padmasambhava I'll have to check on a little bit. I think it would work, but let me just double check.
And that's okay.
If
'cause
not,
there's a roller.
you could do it with the roller, but I'll check the spray. I'm curious about that a little bit myself. So we could also take it like one step even further.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
like
down
when
for that.
you're really wanting to break patterns, protect yourself, break patterns, protect yourself. You know, there's the self-protection class, but like sometimes, like even if you've done the class, you still need to have like little tune-ups with things. And sometimes you're in
Yeah.
situations, I don't think we really realize how much negative attachments and negativity in the environment affects our thought processes until they're gone. At least for myself.
No, for sure.
Yeah, like I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine. And then it goes away and I was like, I wasn't fine.
Right.
Like I was okay, but like I'm better now. Like, you know, like way better. And so that is the whole thing with the what's the word I'm looking for? Dharma protectors? What do we call them? Yeah, Dharma protectors. And so the idea there's the blend Mahakala, and
I haven't heard that.
yeah, you could say it's in Buddhism, it's in Hinduism. It can be considered like a protector, or the wrathful side of Shiva or Vishnu, which is creative destruction or the love aspect. And it's wrathful is not the greatest translation I find, but it's more about cleaning up things from like the lower nature. Like just think of it like that. Like it's going to clean up the lower nature and make things right. And so the protectors keep out certain kinds of negativity, because when we've had traumas from our past, some of that is still lodged in our body, and it still attracts those things later in life. You know, like things happen to you, say when you're 5 years old, like, you know, you got beat up by a sibling, or, you know, somebody was really obnoxious to you or something, and it was a bit traumatizing. And as you get older, you still have some of that in you, because it gets like entangled, like we're talking about. So what happens is then in life, like attracts like, and you just go, yeah, I've done that dance before, let's bring that in. You know, you're not doing it consciously.
No,
you know,
it's
but
it's
the energy body is doing it. You know, it's like
there's
attract like.
imprinting.
Yeah. And so working with Mahakala actually diminishes that tendency. Like it allows for the really old psychic attack stuff to come out, and it prevents you from engaging that situation. But it's not even like you aren't engaging it, the other person also doesn't engage it. So there was a situation, it just happened actually in the last 48 hours, where there was this business that I consulted for, and let's just say I had a hand in getting rid of a couple of people who were problems. And, you know, I just said, like, maybe you get rid of these people and everything goes better. Like, we gave them a couple opportunities to improve, and they were acting out. And it was like, let's not make everybody miserable. Let's just, you know, you guys make the choice, but like maybe let them go. And one of those people kind of reached out to me in the last like 24 hours for something. And normally that would have been a little back and forth. And even though we were being polite, there would have been some chords. And I had just happened to do this whole process with Mahakala. And I didn't feel agitated. I didn't feel triggered. That person didn't feel agitated, didn't get triggered. We handled the situation. We communicated, not excessively, but just the amount that we needed. And we both parted ways like in a very pleasant way. Like it was just like yeah, it's just all good. It's just life, you know. When it happened, you know, it wasn't my situation, so I wasn't upset or hostile. I was just, I could point out a problem. They were quite hostile, you know. So even when this kind of popped up, I thought, yeah, this is going to be a little weird thing for a day or two. And, you know, like probably a lot of weird text, a lot of like a weird email or, you know, something, and nothing happened. And I was like, oh, love me some Mahakala.
What did you do? Did you just inhale or did you do a
I
pat?
did the blend, and I have a Tonka Mahakala. Like as I'm sitting here talking, I actually am looking at Mahakala right now. Like there's a Tonka that I always look at.
Oh, wow. Okay. I want me some of that.
It was out of a temple. It's from the 1400s. Yeah, it's a very, very old, it looks like it's maybe 50 years old, but it's about 600 years old.
Okay. And you just inhaled the blend?
Yeah, and I was inhaling it and I was looking at the picture. Like,
Nice.
yeah. You know, the way to do it is you could just inhale it, put your awareness on the pineal or do the materialization breath, and then just bring up a picture on, go into Google and put in Mahakala and then hit images. And then there'll be different, you know, it's kind of a scary looking face a little bit, but it's a protector. It's like, it's, you know, it's protecting you, it's protecting the soul, but it's also protecting like the teachings, like the teachings that help connect you to the divine. And so you can almost say Mahakala is a personification of time itself. Like there's no greater teacher than time, and time gets us all. You know what I mean? There's no running away from time. And like Mahakala is almost like a personification of time.
This was wonderful. So brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Yeah, I love talking about
Amazing.
Mahakala. Yeah.
So a little earlier on, you had mentioned, you know, she had asked about the Rue roller. We do have a Rue complex roller ball. Can you kind of tell the difference, explain the difference between the Rue complex?
Yeah, the Rue complex is also for disengaging cords, but also some of the cords that can be associated with pain in the pain body. And so still would work, but especially if there is psychological or physical pain associated with it. Like, you know, if you get triggered a lot or something like that, it's a variation of Rue. Like it's got Rue and St. John's wort in it and all that. So yeah. So we'll still make a Rue roller so you can have choices. Yeah, that's super easy.
Question, can we diffuse detachment and Gilead mix together? A 1-2 punch?
I would actually like rotate them. Like if you do them together, they start to kind of do something different, you know, and I'm not even sure what that would do, but they become something different. And so you could have one in one room and then another room, and you can walk in and out of the other room. But like say in the workplace where you're just always in the same spot, or in a family, you know, like the living room or something, give a couple hours of one and then do a couple hours of the other. I'd start with the Rue or detachment and then do Gilead after that. Yeah.
I just want to mention really quickly regarding the chords. I started using Ginger Lily too from Sunday's conversation, and it's been going well. I don't have.
Oh, good.
Gilead's on its way, but I started using, remember, Ginger Lily first.
Right. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
when Gilead comes, I'll hit the Gilead.
Ginger Lily is incredibly soothing on top of all that. You know, love me some Ginger Lily. Yeah.
And then if any of you guys have any other questions or comments, you can unmute yourself, you can raise your hand, you can type into the chat room. Yeah, go ahead, Ralph.
Hey,
I,
Rob.
quick question on
Mhm.
what you just got. I had a phone call and had to run off. I came back and with the Mahakala,
Uh-huh.
at the bottom, you were mentioning, do the inhale and do the materialization breath with which oil?
With the blend Mahakala.
So it's a Mahakala blend.
Mhm, mhm.
Ah, okay. Thanks.
I don't
Yeah.
even know if we have that on the website, Greg.
Oh, yes,
really?
you do. You do.
Oh, we
I-
do.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
That one's,
Gracias.
yeah.
I dropped the link in the chat
Oh,
for everyone.
perfect. Thanks so much.
You're awesome.
Yep.
I started laughing because I was like, do you work with computers?
By the way, as you were describing at the top of this conversation, you were saying, what if there was like a way where you hit a treatment and then it says, you know, the oils and how to apply and blah, blah. I am
Mhm.
thinking we need a plant prana app that is an encyclopedia.
Are you ready to
yeah.
put that together for us, Channing? Because
I-
anytime I know a computer person,
I could totally, I mean, I would be so happy and actually honored to design the,
Let me get some more of the information like kind of up and going and get refined so that it becomes kind of easy just to put together. But yeah, I'd be good.
and
well,
we'll
I mean,
probably
we
tap
already-
into your notes, Channing, and Letty's.
Yeah.
well, we already have all the amazing content that is in the booklets that Letty puts together. So it's just extracting that and then figure out the best way to apply it in an app.
Okay.
We can do that. And then I would just say, you know, what would be the North Star end goal of this app? So I would just say like project 5 to 10 years out on what you want to build. And then that way we
Okay.
create a framework. But this is totally off topic of oils, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, we should have this conversation another time, but I would be happy
Ease,
to.
ease of use is always a thing, and we're talking about very complex things, and so to be able to pull that together, you know, anytime things get easier to use, it makes them more effective. You know.
It's you know, a lot of this stuff you've taught in different ways and in different formats, but
Yeah.
key is like really connecting with the oils. At least for me, I'll say the key for me has been really energetically connecting it and then having like an awareness of what it was intended to do and then figuring out how to apply it.
Hmm.
So it's just, you know, knowing what the
Okay.
oil is and then what is what's the best practice for it, because the practice is really what makes the difference to me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
by
Yep,
that?
I do. Yeah.
Because today, like how many years have I been in class with you? How many classes have I taken? And this is my first time I'm hearing the layered and leveled approach to chords.
Yeah, like because a lot of times I do it in bits and pieces, and you know, I go back to the thing that Master Choa. I remember we were talking about something and how to heal it, and he said it always has to be the right dosage at the right time. He said if you give too much information, people get overwhelmed, and then they'll like either shut off or discount it, and so you give them a piece and give them an application, let them have the experience, and then at some point when you talk about the big picture, they have the experience to go, oh yeah, I know totally what you're talking about. But like in the beginning, it's too abstract for most people, you know, not everybody, but for most people. And so the idea is to have like little bits and pieces. But I mean, we could probably do a whole class, like a whole 1-day class just on chords. Like, I mean, honestly, like that's how much information we could go like just down the rabbit hole. And maybe we should actually do something like that. Like take a piece of the anatomy, etheric anatomy, and just, we're kind of going to do some of that with the Sandalphon thing. When's the next free event?
It is next month. It's the 1 day. It's a 1-day class.
Yeah, maybe we'll do the next 1-day class. We'll do
1-day free event. Just so you
1-day
guys are
free
clear.
event, which is in May. Is that when it's at? Yeah, I think it's the
May
Mother's Day.
7th,
Yeah. We'll do a deep dive on quartz.
Which means Greg will have to make a recommended oil list for you all.
Yeah. It's probably a lot of stuff that most of you guys already have. Yeah, that's what we'll do. I keep looking like, right, that's a good idea, right?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
and I'm looking at people are like, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I mean, it's something that we all have to address all the time, like all the time. And so, it's not super mainstream, but even people that this is new to, you'll notice the difference pretty quickly. And depending on your work, your family unit, I mean, the ability to deal with cords, there's, I can't remember what the modality is, but the whole modality is just cutting cords. That's it. That's all they do. They just cut cords. And in the Buddhist practice, there's a thing where they do with you have your kartika.
Yeah.
So this is a small kartika, and you can see it's just like a kind of a funky little axe, and you're just like you hook it, and then you cut, and then you hook, cut, and you hook and cut. You're just, and the thing is like we were kind of talking on the weekend, is sometimes these cords are very, very old and we're laying dormant. But as you grow, as you evolve, as you spiritualize, as you meditate, become more successful, some of these old cords get re-engaged or re-energized because of the level of prana running through your body. And at some point you have to go back through and detach from these things. And so it's something that everybody has to deal with, even though you might not be aware of it. Like for example, if you had really big cords to the solar plexus and somebody was upset and you were also upset, it would make your back go into spasm. It would cause digestive upsets. It would throw your diaphragm into spasm. It would throw your breath off. It would make you ungrounded. It would make your mind race and not be real clear, and the thought processes that you're trying to engage. Like all those things could just be simply from cords. Yeah, I like that idea. We'll do a deep dive on cords.
Does that take the place of bunching up the cords before cutting with the hook?
It's like when you're like, so they're asking energetically if you kind of bunch up all the cords and cut. Like, so when you go through and you cut like with this or with your crystal, like say you're doing crystal healing and you're using like this, you're cutting the cord somewhat. A lot of times what's happening is you're not really cutting them, but you're diminishing them, right? It's like, yeah, they kind of cut, they got broken down, they're a little bit smaller, there's not as much energy going back and forth. Where when you have the kartika, you're actually going kind of like cord by cord, and you're literally like here, let me see, like you're hooking and you're using the blade, but this also is like basically half a dorje. And so you're bringing in a lot of spiritual energy when you're going through and doing this, and then you're cutting. And so it's a way to break the cord even deeper. So you can do it with tools, or you could do it with oils. Oils actually do it just as effective as this, without having to manually go through and find the cords. So we'll cover that in the cord class that we're going to do. I have tons and tons of notes on cords, tons and tons.
I do want to let you guys know, just by Greg holding it for that 2 seconds, it like heated up. That little Kurtica totally just
Okay.
heated up. Yeah.
Are there any more of those that we could purchase from the Astara website, Greg?
Do you want like a newer practitioner grade, or do you want
I want
a
similar,
relic?
yeah, the
A
second,
relic?
for
A
sure.
relic? I'm sure we have some later.
Okay,
Not all the relics are on the site.
I will send
Yeah.
Sam an email.
Yeah. Some of them are big, some of them, like that's a little bit of a smaller one, which is good depending on the size of your hand. But I know there's one on the site but it's kind of big. It's might be a little much, but yeah, you can also do it with fancy Purbas. It's a little bit, it's a different motion. It's a different kind of action.
Okay.
Yeah.
If
We
no-
are in the Mystic Vibration class, this Saturday we're doing, still working with the Dorje, but we are going to go a deeper dive into working with Purbas, prayer wheels, the Ankh, and the Kartika, which is the axe, and a couple other tools that are not Buddhist, but from other traditions. And we're not going to be able to cover it all on this Saturday, but we're going to be doing a series through the next few months of just these free classes that we throw out to people. So, like a prayer wheel is a perfect example. Is you just look at it and you go, oh, it's kind of nice and it's kind of calming to the mind. But if you really know how to work a prayer wheel, you can do a lot. Depends on what you put your attention with. It depends on what you do before and after. There's techniques to using that prayer wheel where, if I get a little too excessive with the prayer wheel in the morning, I really don't want to work for most of the day because I just want to meditate and do contemplations and mantras and
I'll be like, Greg, did you do it today? And he's like, it's just, it's all sorts of funny. Quick question. And this is kind of switching gears just a little back to what we were talking about before. Doesn't Rue Complex Rollerball do everything Rue Rollerball would do? I don't understand the difference.
Yeah. Just somewhat like it's hard because I'm splitting a hair here. In essence, yes, but when it's normal everyday stuff, Rue by itself might be a little bit stronger just by itself because it's just about the chords, right? The Rue Complex is a little bit more about when something is very emotional, very upsetting, or very painful. Where Rue is just like, yeah, Bob's a little bit of a jerk at work and I need to cut it. And it's just about that, right? Rue will pull you a little bit out of fight flight a little bit, where the Rue Complex is a little bit more for like triggered states. Cutting chords, but in triggered states. So it would still work, but they start to go slightly different directions. Not much. I mean, if you had one and not the other, you're doing fine. But there's little nuances in triggered states that the Rue doesn't address. And then just normal everyday stuff, the Rue sometimes is a little bit better.
Someone's wondering, doesn't the Purba do the same thing with the chords? I think you're talking about the Kartika.
Yeah, it potentially can. Like you have a yeah. Okay, so this is Purba, right? Purba. It basically is a three-sided dagger. So here, like the Kartika, you're kind of hooking and cutting, right? Here, you would have to kind of keep poking for a while, and then eventually it would cut, right? But this is more for disintegrating thought forms, elementals, or going deep within the energy centers, you know, or even like if you're trying to clean the liver, you could go into the liver and then disintegrate, right? But you still could cut cords, but it's not as easy as a cut. Like you would have to sit and poke it for a while and then cut, if that makes sense. Yeah, so they're slightly different.
Again, Greg is on fire. That thing just came back to my hands real hot. What else? Yeah, anybody else? We have a few more minutes. You can unmute yourself and ask
I
questions.
forgot how these little baby purples. Look at the little baby purple.
Hi, Greg. It's Christy.
Hey, hey, Christy.
So I just want to clarify, see if my
Mhm.
memory is accurate. So way back a long time ago, the original like Glory of Lebanon blend was like the cedar, hyssop, and fir. And then you switched it to like stronger version. Is that original version called Hod now?
No, okay, so the original version was Nootka, which is a cypress, fir balsam, and then cade. And so it's the one that's really smoky, right? Then there was one that was just called like Glory or Glory Supreme, and it was still Nootka and cade, but instead of fir balsam, it was fir balsam absolute, which is a real strong premium form of fir balsam. Hod is still fir balsam, but instead of Nootka, it's cypress, and instead of cade, it's juniper. So Nootka is a type of cypress, and cade is a type of juniper. So it's the same thing without the smoky feel or smell. So works identically.
Okay.
It's just, it doesn't smell like a campfire.
Got it. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, yeah.
What does Glory of Lebanon or Hod do?
So it's for transmuting lower vibrational energies, and it's also for cleaning the outer layer of the aura. Like if you looked at the energy body, you have like basically 7 layers within the energy body or the aura. And so each layer kind of does something different. And when you're going through and you're unwinding it, a lot of times what you're doing is you're unwinding the first one, and then eventually the second one, and eventually the third one, and the fourth one, and you keep going deeper and deeper. And as you do it, more Kundalini actually awakens, right? And so the Glory of Lebanon is cleaning the first layer, the outer layer, and it also transmutes things via the Mingmen, the back heart, and crown. So it cleans up lower emotional things. It cleans up thought forms that are in the body. Not so much for sadness, even though sadness and forgiveness would be tied to that pattern. It's more about raising the vibration of the body. You know, the centers for transmutation, or the Mingmen, which is the low back area, that raises the vibration of the physical body. Then the back heart transmutes things emotionally. Another way of saying that is it raises the vibration of the emotional body. And then the crown transmutes things mentally, which raises the vibration of the mental body. And so when you say raising the vibration, it means improving function and increasing conductivity to the soul. And so as you go through and you work with Glory of Lebanon, you are raising the vibration of the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, so that more spiritual energy can come in, and you're also letting go of lower vibrational energies, thoughts. Thoughts are not necessarily something that you're thinking in your head, but it can be just physiological emotions that are being generated by the body that then get lodged in your energy field. And so, you know, we talk about like calming things down. but part of what you're doing when you're working with Glory of Lebanon is you're scraping out that first layer in the aura or the mold. Your aura is an energetic mold or blueprint that your physical body eventually follows. You know, it happens in the energy body first before it physicalizes. And so Glory of Lebanon is cleaning up that first level. And then if you take it deeper, when you start working more and more with Glory of Lebanon, it actually helps facilitate the transmutation of dirty energy in your body and producing gold. And it can even do that in the environment. So like even if you were like make a spray or burn incense of Glory of Lebanon in a room, and the room was like a little bit etherically dirty, it would actually take that dirty energy and actually convert it to gold product and physicalize it. And so it literally is a blend that is of transmutation. And again, not something that I came up with. I was just following the instructions of King Solomon. Like it was, you know, he said it in a phrase, and he mentions those plants by name, but he doesn't say like, you know, blend these together, do X, Y, Z. He's talking metaphorically about these plants, and he refers to it as the glory of Lebanon. First he says glory of God, and then glory of Lebanon. And anytime you hear the term glory, it's referring to the Ming Men, or the low back area, which is the old school way of saying transmutation. You know, so like when they would say glory be to God, you're literally saying this situation I transmute and give it to God. This anger I transmute and give it to God. This negative feeling that I have inside me, I transmute it, I give it to God. And so it is literally the transmutation of these aspects and offering it up. And so in the Essene tradition, they were referred to this as this process of the Ming Men, back, heart, and crown as feeding the gods, right? Feeding the gods. And it's just literally taking the animalistic nature and offering it up as a sacrifice to the gods. You know.
And then we still have a couple more minutes. If anyone has a question, or you can type in, you can unmute yourself.
What, somebody's got something written, right? Yeah, like the regeneration class, it's the regeneration of the immune system. We're going through the lymphatic system, the inflammatory response, and then the part of the immune system that fights off like bacteria and viruses, and then also the effect of that generates the lower physiological emotion, which is kind of loosely, you could say, a little bit of a psychic attack effect. But it's just because like when somebody projects negativity towards you, the thing in your body that responds, that pushes back, is the immune system. And so we're going through and we're strengthening the immune system, we're fortifying it, and we're regenerating the response so that it's not hyper-reactive. You know, it's not a hyper-reactive effect of like attacking the body, you know, autoimmune issues with attacking the body. It's not a hyper-vigilant, hyper-reactive response in the inflammatory response. Because sometimes what happens over a period of time is we become like hyper-reactive, so that a little bit of agitation in the body causes a big inflammatory response. And then we're going through and deeply cleaning out the lymphatic system. And instead of like just doing inhalation, this is going to be a lot of applying liniments, body tonics, ointments, combined with inhalation. And then you guys are going to sit back and I'm going to do a healing on the group of you as you are applying this and then sitting still. So it's going to be very different than other classes that we've done. It is really more than a class. It is going to be a therapy process. Like we are literally going to go through the whole immune response with a fine-tooth comb. So yeah, I think that answers that question.
Yeah, that was good. Just someone earlier had been asking me, it was actually yesterday, but the difference between treating eczema and psoriasis. And you, I know we only have a couple minutes, but you said something I thought was really great, and how they are different and you have to treat them different.
Yeah, so eczema can just be any sort of like little irritation, flakiness on the skin, dryness, things like that. One of the best oils for for the eczema is Kunzea. Kunzea is even recognized by the Australian equivalent of the FDA as a treatment specifically for eczema. And so you can put a little bit of Kunzea in some lotion or massage oil and rub it on the area, or you can actually just put a couple drops neat and rub it into the area. Then if you have psoriasis is a little bit harder because it is tied to an autoimmune response. And it's an overproduction of skin cells in an area. So things can get agitated and then it can be calm, and then it can get agitated and be calm. And so different things can cause it to flare up, and it sometimes reacts to different treatments for a while, and then it changes. And so one of the things that we've had a good track record with is using the parsley soap, the bars of soap or the medicated soap on the areas. That can reduce it somewhat, but one of the things that we've been using for a little while for bad flare-ups is a little bit of spikenard. Spikenard can help to calm down the agitation. It doesn't always work, but it works somewhat consistently. It helps to calm down the agitation in the skin for the overproduction, and it's very soothing. It's sedating in nature, so it kind of sedates that response in the body. And then it has a balancing effect on all skin types, right? So if you tend to be a little bit more dry skin or real super oily skin, or whatever it is, it's very, very balancing to the different skin types. And so it is actually in the skin support blend for just nurturing and balancing out all the different skin types in the body, regardless if it's your face or your body or your knees or elbows or whatever that might be. So.
Great timing. We are just about to
is it time?
go into our other one. Yeah. Person who just asked me this PERBA question, maybe we wait till tomorrow's Astara and you can answer.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll do it tomorrow night in the Astara session.
Okay, cool. And
Okay, take care, you guys.
we are gonna call it good for tonight's Q&A here. We do have a special Tuesday practice for those who took the Alchemy of Materialization. I sent you guys that link. If you did not get that link, email me at Plant Prana Calendar right now, and I'll get that link over to you. Otherwise, we will see you guys.
Yeah. And this weekend, there's no Plant Prana class. It's Easter, so happy Easter. And then if you want, there is a free class with Astara, the Mystic Vibration. And, we'll be talking about blessing and working with the Dorje and going deep with that. And even if you don't have a Dorje or an Ankh or something, you still can practice with just your hands. We'll be talking about some mechanics. Feel free to join us. It's free, and just either sign up or we can provide a link for you or however you want to do it. And then otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.